are with more chips from Trailer Park Boys. I was called out to attend an event for Trailer Park Boys, which I did. And I gotta say is, when I met Paul Trembly, Robb Wells, and Mike Smith, Ricky Bubbles, and Julian, I gotta say right off the bat, I never met such great, nice people like that in a long time because they're anything but what their characters were. And I gotta say is, it was an honor meeting them. That was my very first Trailer Park Boys event that I had ever attended. I never ever attended anything that involved the Trailer Park Boys, even though I was on their sets many times. I met majority of the actors. I was involved with their actors many times. I gotta say is it was an honor meeting Paul Tremblay, Robb Wells, and Mike Smith. Great, fine people. Couldn't ask for better people. And I gotta say is it was an honor meeting them. Now we got more chits from Trailer Park Boys. Crazy Plane is supposed to be their new one. Now get this, Robb Wells and Mike Smith Bubbles gave me this for free. Told the guy to throw it out, look at him. And that's how I got it. So here it is here. And I gotta say is the chips that you see right here, I'm going to give them away to fans out in the community for free. And I gotta say is I'm going to give them to people who never experienced these chips before. I had, and I'm going to give it to them away. I'm going to give it to them for free. And when I do that, you're widening their products so people can experience them for themselves. And I gotta say is I actually enjoyed attending the Trailer Park Boys meet and greet at Giant Tiger in Woodlawn in Dartmouth. And I gotta say is it was an honor meeting them. Now, here we have dill pickle. Right here. This one is fries and ketchup. Now, I had this before, and they were actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good. The Dirty Burger, I never had this. This is a new one that I had. To me, this here's brand new. And then there's fries and ketchup. Same as that. And there's a Dirty Burger again. I gotta say is, I actually, do we have some, can we show a video, not a picture of a fan interacting with Mike Smith and Robb Wells? Can we show that picture? Show it. Here we are. Everything's having a great time attending the event. I'd have to say people were well-mannered when they were attending that event. There was one fan that decided he's going to try to walk behind Robb Wells and Mike Smith to have his picture taken. I got to say, I wouldn't do that. Just stand where they tell you to stand, because there's a reason why they don't want you standing behind them, because for their own security, because they don't know if you're going to try to stab with a pen or whatever, something crazy will take place. Because their biggest fear, this is an actor's biggest fear when it comes to fans. Fans that are overexcited, that they'll get too excited, they'll trip and fall or cause a melee, and really they don't want that. They just want to shake your hand, how you doing, sign your thing, talk for a minute or so, and that will be it. And there's a book. Should I show his picture? No, I won't show his picture. I won't humiliate him. We'll leave him be. But anyways, he had Mike Smith Bubbles sign a crossword book. Now, I was a little concerned because the guy flew all the way from Newfoundland to Dartmouth for the three of them to sign it. All right. But he's selling it. See what's wrong with that? It's people like that that ruin everything for everybody. Paul Tremblay, Robb Wells, and Mike Smith were good enough to sign his book. Then he goes and puts it out for sale at for market for people to buy. Those are people that I really don't have much respect for, because there's kids that respect the show. There's fans that respect the show that are diehard fans. I had one fan, he told me he's in the military. He was just based in Halifax, originally from Ontario. He said his son was a big diehard fan. He said for his son, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. He said, for me too, this is the first time when I met them. And I can understand that. And for me, I met half the cast. They knew Robb Wells knew me before I even approached him. Because as soon as he see me, he said, "Hi Adam, how you doing?" And at the time, I was talking to Mike Smith. Because see, I went to Mike Smith first because I never met Mike Smith before. I wanted to meet the guy, and I met Mike Smith as Bubbles. Then I met Robb Wells, and I talked to Robb about how many times out in the community, seen him out how many times out in the community, away from Trailer Park Boys. And then John Paul Trembly too. I met him a few times himself, and I remember, I believe it was his son. I believe it was John Paul Trembly's son. And I said, before I walked up to them, the three of them, and I said, "I know majority of the cast, anyways." And he looked at me and said, "I know, we know you too." And I gotta say, is that was on a personal note to John Paul Tremblay, Robb Wells, Mike Smith, even your son that's holding my camera, taking the picture. That was my first Trailer Park Boys event that I have ever attended, ever. And I gotta say is, after my melee with John Dunsworth, remember that big fiasco, we all heard about it. That was my first event that I ever attended with Trailer Park Boys. The reason why I went was out of good faith. I had nothing on to go, and so I'll come out. Was to meet them in person. And I gotta say is, I never seen or met such nice people in all my life. They weren't in character to themselves, very well mannered. I mean, you got the odd fool, that fan will come up to the crowd and they'll try to ruin everything for all the rest. I got the event started at 12. They were a little late. They were about 20 minutes late. And I remember I talked to a few good people. They just getting a little bit too long here. And eventually they showed up. I was there at 10:30 in the morning. I walked in Giant Tiger at 10:30 in the morning. I was scoping the place out. Where's the line? Where's it going to start at? And I seen these people sitting there and said, "What are you guys here for?" And they go, "We're here for Trailer Park Boys." Guess where the lineup is? It starts right there. It's hardly, it may have been 4 people, so I went and stood in line. Good people. But I gotta say, the show, without John Dunsworth, these chips wouldn't be here. The only thing what I got with these chips that I don't like is the size of it. For $2, what you're paying, the cost of chips is quite concerning. And I gotta say, it's $2. Yay, it could be a little bit lower, but it is what it is. Now, they gave me this. They signed it for me. I almost like to give it to a lucky fan of the community. So if you know me, if you may want this, let me know. I just may give it to you. And well, if you're lucky enough, I'll give it to you. Now, question of the day. I get emails from people asking me questions, and I'll answer the question of the day. Dear Adam, I've seen your videos on YouTube, but I wanted to ask you a question. Who was your influence in life growing up as a kid? Jordan. This is from Jordan. All right. You know what my biggest influence as a kid was besides Bret Hart and William Shatner? Believe it or not, it was Elvis Presley. He was a guy who I always admired as a kid. I always admired Elvis Presley as a kid because he was a good guy. He had his problems like how we all did. I just watched how he did his business. And when you're like me, when you're in the film industry, besides being able to make the right connections and find the right actors and all this stuff for their parts, do you know what the number one thing you have to do, what you can't not ever forget to do? Promote your product. That's why John Paul Charlie and them were at their autograph session with these chips, because they were promoting their product. When you make a video, you got to promote your product. If you don't promote your product, your video is basically it's going to die. Your film project is going to die real quick. Now, when you are making a video, if you're just going to slap it on YouTube, usually YouTube is a good place to start out as an independent film director. But if you're not pasting your videos to social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever is out there, God knows what else is to follow. Your videos ain't going to be noticed. You got to connect them to social media to work. The film tax credit is available to people, but it's not free money like everybody says it is. It's not free money. It's like I said before. I make an example. Let's say you put $2,000 down. The government will look at your contributions and they'll add their $2,000. You got $4,000. That's how the film tax credit works. Generally, if you're independent at the independent level of films, the professional level likes to frown down on people who are starting out because you're competing against them. They don't want you to achieve higher steps because they want it for their so-called union to take all the work. Lo and behold, here's this independent person that's non-union prevailing. Not that I'm taking jabs at all you people at the professional level. I think you guys work hard, but and I take my hat off to you. Now, second question of the day is, Dear Adam, what was your opinion on the Snoop Dogg Heavies concert in Halifax and the Trailer Park Boys being involved with Snoop Dogg? Troy, see that? You know what my opinion on that is? The timing was bad. Why was that? Nothing against Trailer Park Boys, none whatsoever. Nothing to do with Robb, Wells, Mike Smith, John Paul, Trembly. Nothing against them at all. I felt it was bad timing because of the crisis with inflation. Majority of the people can't go to places or attend things like they would like to because they can't afford it no more. You got to pay your rent. Because here in Nova Scotia, you have a serious housing crisis. Majority of the people can't afford rent. They can't do that. They can't afford to put food on the table. They can't afford to pay their power bills. You're basically going to work for nothing, basically. And I believe the Snoop Dogg concert was bad, poorly managed, I guess you could say. The bad time to come to Halifax to do anything. Because, secondly, I was told, I'm not saying this is factual, I was told the Snoop Dogg concert was a reasonable price, but the after party at the Toothy Moose was very significantly costly. What was it, $450 a ticket? Yeah, I wouldn't go to that neither. I mean, I was actually angry when I heard that because they just did that just to milk the people, and here we are we're on the edge of a Great Depression again, all over again, and here we are. People can't afford rent, can't afford to put food on the table, can't afford the lights and power in the house, can't afford to send their kids to school, can't afford to feed them as they go to school. And here were Snoop Dogg and Trailer Park Boys asking, was it $400 and some a ticket for an after party at Toothy Moose? Yeah, I think they need, my opinion, they should have apologized to the fans. That's where I lay on it. How many questions do I got? 2 more questions. Dear Adam, what's your opinion on Lucy leaving the Trailer Park Boys after her national court case that ultimately backfired on her in spite of the witness that she had? Somebody sends me an email, did put their name on it. Well, you know what my opinion on that is? All bad doings has their lickings coming to them at the end. No matter how good and how whatever you think you can get away with stuff, you pay for all your bad deeds one way or the other. Sooner or later, it may not be right away or instantly, but you will pay for your wrongdoings over time. I can't tell you how many times I came across that. When it rains, it rains. If it was raining soup, majority of the time my bowl will be upside down, put it that way. It's just bad luck. But ultimately, with the Lucy case, in my opinion, she had her time coming. She did something. My opinion, I believe she was assaulted, but it was over dramatized. Her witness, very problematic out in the community. We all know who she is. I was asked not to mention her name, so unfortunately, guys, I can't mention her name because she's home crying. Hey, don't mention my name on the show. You're killing me out here. The show should have fired her right off the bat. Lucy, I would have just given them an ultimatum: you can quit or we're going to fire you. That's what I would have did with her. But ultimately, with Lucy, besides firing her, I would have reduced her character's appearance with the show and the character's involvement with the show, and slowly phase her out and replace her with a new actor. Because Susan can't replace her spot on the show, her character on the show, I should say, and that's basically what had happened. But I think, what goes around comes around. Now, our final question of the day from Sarah. Dear Adam, if you met majority of the actors of the Trailer Park Boys off the set, with them being on social media, is there any way of telling if their social media account are spammers and scammers out trying to scam people on Facebook? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's a very good question. This video was supposed to be about internet security on social media when you're interacting with the actors of the Trailer Park Boys. And I'm going to tell you something. There had been scammers and spammers posing as actors on the Trailer Park Boys when it's not even them. On our last segment, we were talking about Trailer Park Boy Chips. I was talking about a person that was posing to be somebody who they weren't. They were posing to be Robb Wells when it wasn't Robb Wells at all. They interacted with me, asking $50 for an autograph, and that's where they slipped. And they must have hit their head on a rock or something, because I wasn't giving no $50 for no autograph. Me, I could care less about autograph, even though they signed it, because at least when they signed it, I was there when they signed it. And me, I'm not charging a fan $50 for this. If you want it, I'll give it to you for free. Do you understand it? But they did sign this, and I'll give it to you for free. The spammers with Trailer Park Boys are so good. Now get this. They will copy the SwearNet website address on their fake Facebook page. They'll post it to their Facebook page posing to be Robb Wells, John Paul, Trembly, or Mike Smith. Now Mike Smith, Bubbles, there are a few fake accounts posing to be him. But there is one account that is him. And what I got to say is, the majority of the Facebook pages are not them. It's fake, false. Usually, sometimes, you'll see an IMB account. Is it IMB account? Is that what it's called? Anyways, there's a link and it shows all the movies they were in and all this fun stuff. That's them. That's actually Robb Wells, John Paul, Trembly, Mike Smith if you click on it. But the Facebook pages, no. My opinion, what they should be doing is having, well, they do. They have their own SwearNet Facebook page. It was shared between them all. As far as I understand, Robb Wells, John Paul, Trembly does not have a Facebook account. Do you ever notice the ones that are on Facebook that is supposed to be Robb Wells? You ever notice how their pictures are very limited? And it's always involved Trailer Park Boys. There's no personal pictures at home. They're sitting there eating with their families or anything like that. Or they're outside in the community doing charity work, same thing like that. You ever notice why those pictures are not there? Because the account's not real. If you get an email from Robb Wells or any of those claim to be them, they're asking for $50. Block the account. It's not them. I'm telling you right now, if you block them, you're not losing nothing. You're winning. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're keeping yourself safe. Keep yourself safe. Don't go selling yourself out to some complete idiot out in the community. And like I said before, if you're not sure if it's them, if you want to meet with them, be cautious about it. Ask to meet them in a public area like a Tim Hortons, a grocery store, superstore, Sobeys, whatever. And always bring a friend with you. And if you want, this is what you can do. Have a police officer go with you, plain clothes, whatever, and wait for him to come up. If you see a complete stranger come up to you, obviously, guess what? It's not them. Get up, walk away, go for security, ask for help, and they'll remove this person from you. And I'll tell you right now, never meet these people alone, Because there's a reason. If they say no, they don't want to meet you in person, there's a reason why they don't want to meet you in person. Because it means they're being exposed as a fraud, is what they actually are. And the autographs that they're probably handing you, Robb Wells, John Paul Trembly, Mike Smith likely never even signed it in the first place. And I'm telling you right now, the number one rule, what you got to do is to keep yourself safe. Now, we're going to end this here real soon. Here, I'm going to say is, that's what we got. We're mostly going to give them the majority away to lucky fans. Come across, I say the event was quite well done. I actually liked it. And I got to say, well, then a fan tell me that they're over the hill and all this stuff. I mean, they're getting up in the age, but, you know, they're doing their best because they lost John Dunthers. They're doing their best. I mean, my opinion, the number one thing what Trailer Park Boys is guilty for is not creating new talent. They got to replace John Dunthers' character with a new nemesis, a new bad guy like character. They got to replace him somehow. Somebody to work with Pat Roach, because Pat Roach's partner passed away. John Dunthers, good guy, he passed. It is what it is. But I got to say is, I felt that the event at the Giant Tiger in Dartmouth was well organized, very well done, very nice people. I never met such great people in a long time like that. Take my hat off to them. So some lucky fan out there, guess what? You might get this for free. Well, you are going to get it for free because I don't want their money. A fan told me, this is how crazy this fan is. Well, hey, Adam, Mike Smith told me that, you know, he spelled liquor on it and he couldn't spell it right. He couldn't spell on the kid's paper. He said, hey, Adam, he couldn't get the friction from the marker onto the paper because it's full of liquor. I told the guy, give me the paper for a second, and I smelled it. I said, go smell it. I said, do you smell liquor on that there? He goes, no. Well, then he didn't spell liquor on it. I said, Mike Smith was talking to you in character as Bubbles. What he had on his paper was the humidity was so warm, it got wet. It was getting damp. And when he signed it, it smudged a bit. Problem solved. Your mysteries are solved. For a fan to think that, I question his mortality. Because like I said before in this video, the number one thing that an actor fears is an overexcited fan. And I've seen a few of them there, and they were well-mannered, but it should be expected of fans to be well-mannered before they attend these events, because the last thing that they want, or the fan wants to have happen, is have a security guard ask them to leave the facility because they're overexcited or causing a safety concern or a hazard. And that can happen. Because easily Mike Smith or John Paul Trembly, Robb Wells could have had the security ask that person to leave because he's overexcited and he's causing an issue. Likely that never happened. But when you attend these events, be open-minded, be respectful. Because one of the things, actually it was Sarah that mentioned this on her Facebook page. Somebody walked up to her father, John Dunthers. He goes, fuck off, lady. And Sarah asked people on Facebook, he said, could you please not tell my father to fuck off on when you see him in person? She said, I respectfully understand that you guys are referring to the show, but out of respect, can you please not tell my father to fuck off? An overexcited fan would do that. Me, I knew John quite well, very nice man. I didn't even refer to him as his character. Always John Dunthers. When I met these three guys right here, John Paul Trembly, Robb Wells, Mike Smith, the first thing I did, I looked at Robb and said, hey, Robb, Mike Smith. They want me to call him Bubbles. I called him Mike right off the bat. And there's John Paul Trembly, not I go, John. Nah. The reason why I do that, because they're not Ricky, Bubbles, and Julian. They were not born in this world as Ricky, Bubbles, and Julian. They were born as Robb Wells, Mike Smith, and John Paul Trembly. That's their real names, and that's who they are. And I learned that from William Shatner. Because he said I have to be referred to as who I really am, and that's what I did with these guys. See, you know what the number one thing what I respect the most about Trailer Park was in John Paul Trembly, Robb Wells, Mike Smith? When the show was canceled after the 7th season, when there was uncertainty if the show was ever going to come back, when John Paul Trembly, Robb Wells, and Mike Smith had purchased the show off Barry Dunn and Mike Clattenburg. They lifted the show out of uncertainty into another group, more life to it, a second life to it. It wasn't as strong as the first run, but there's more life to it. That's how I take my hat off to them. Not only that, because but the network didn't want to renew their contract with them. Show's canceled basically when that happens. They lifted the show out of uncertainty. And they kept going with it, in spite of that negative stuff. But a thing called Netflix came around the corner. Let's try it there. I never watched Trailer Park Boys after the 7th season. I just couldn't. After the melee with John Dunders, I couldn't do it. Nothing against Robb Wells or Mike Smith or John Paul Trotter, because if I didn't respect them, trust me when I tell you guys this, I would have attended your event. I did it out of respect for John Paul Trotter, Robb Wells, and Mike Smith. So if you guys are watching, I'm going to say is I wouldn't hold that fiasco personal with what happened between me and John Dunders. It is what it is. But I had to stand my grounds. You know, it is what it is. We all got to do certain things that may not be famous at times. But in closing, there's your chips on the shelves. It takes a lot to do that. I take my hat off to them for their accomplishments, for doing what they did. And I got to say, it was an honor meeting you. Until we meet again.